Brilliant. Jamio from JoBlo.com. Simon, I gotta say, I feel like you got the violence here. How did you finally build this world and find a way to make it stand on its own, but still connect to the fans that have kind of wanted the R-rated version of this film?
Well, I guess it helped that all along from the moment I was involved in the film, the studio were always wanting to do it the right way. That was always the guys at New Line were always intent on doing that. And then the creative process from that point on was, how do we do it in a way that doesn't just prioritize that to such a degree that it becomes kind of boring ultimately, and doesn't take into account all the other things that we need to put into a film to make it an enjoyable cinematic experience. So that it kind of was easy because there was no sort of, combativeness this way, pardon the pun. It was very much okay, so stylistically, where are we going to go with this? And that was just a really enjoyable creative process as to how to bring in that part of the Mortal Kombat DNA, which is that brutality and really the thing that I said to those guys early on was, I really feel like we can make a really beautiful, emotional, cinematic experience, visually really prioritize a visual style and elegance, I guess, and it can coexist with the authentic brutality that's within it. I feel like that actually, I liked that the no holds barred sort of fighting aspect of it allowed me to make something that just felt authentic, because someone's going to get stabbed, blood would come out. So it sort of allowed that to happen. And I didn't want it to feel too gratuitous. I didn't want it to feel sort of goofy. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of times where I knew we had to it's a constant balancing act. It was like just dialing a bit up there, a bit down here. And that was with every aspect of the film. All the characters, we need a bit more Sonya, we need so it's just rebalancing the whole time just to get that blend right.
And I also gotta give you props on the score. How much of the score did you borrow from the games in the past, and to make this it's a big, beautiful score you got here?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Wallfish is a genius. Let's just put that on the table. He is an extraordinarily talented guy. And what he did early on, because we both agreed that the Mortal Kombat music, which is a key ingredient to the Mortal Kombat world, we need to take that and we need to elevate it. So really the very simple thing we were doing on every single facet and aspect of this film was taking something that existed and elevating it. And sometimes that means it would transform, but it didn't mean it would sort of radically change. So what Ben did with the music, he did this forensic study on that song, on just the Immortal song, right?
Oh, wow.
And he pulled it apart and did this musical forensic study, and then took elements from it and did certain things with it that baked it into this big epic score. And then, so what we wanted to happen was this feeling and this, you felt it was Mortal Kombat, but it was in a new sort of massive version of it. And I think Ben did an amazing job with that. I think it's a beautiful score, very emotional, but very powerful. So we knew there was a sort of a power and energy that needed to come from the fight. So the engine, the rhythmic engine within certain fights. It's also coming from a video game. So we tried to take and innovate and be a little more experimental at times within certain places, within certain fights. It wasn't always just sort of classic score, but there was a classic score that was the main framework across it. and then we knew we could sort of move in and around within that. And it's an amazing score. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's just amazing to be, you come from a commercial background to come into this world. What's the most important thing you've learned from making this film and maybe moving on into the sequel?
Hire very smart people and let them make you look good. That's the key. But I think it's just caring about every single facet and caring about the characters. Mm-hmm. And looking at ways to always elevate and respect.
Gotcha.
And when you concentrate on every facet and aspect, you do feel it. You feel it in the end. And I think that is something that I knew in theory, and I'd sort of achieved it in small amounts, in shorter forms. But to then be able to apply that across feature length was immensely satisfying.
Well, we got to wrap it up, but wow, I congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah,
cheers.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, okay. Guys. Jimmy O from JoBlo, Josh and Jessica, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Great, Jimmy.
I'm good. Well, you know what, Jessica, I got you on screen, so I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Now, how do you prepare for a role like this? Did you play the games? Were you familiar with Mortal Kombat?
I was as a kid, but I never played it that much. So I had a lot of research to do when this role came about. And I watched a bunch of YouTubes of people playing the game, and I did a deep dive into all the wiki fandom, and I just basically read as much as I possibly could about, first of all, this character, but the universe itself.
Oh, nice. And with you, Josh, wow, you look so different in this film. You look so great in it, man. You don't look messed up at all.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
What was it like, kind of stepping into because he's a bit of a firecracker. What a great character.
Yeah, man. He's fun, but like you said, the makeup does a lot of the work. There's so much going on. In the makeup department, I would sit in the chair, the tattoos and the blood, and the dirt and all sorts of stuff. So that helps for sure, add an element of toughness to it or badassery. But there was so much fun you could have with Kano because he's such a bastard. And so definitely got to push the boundaries a little bit with the bad guy of Kano. Yeah.
Now, when people found out, I'm going to jump back to you, Jessica. When people found out that you were working on this film, did they give you advice? Did they say, oh yeah, if you're doing this, you have to make sure you know this. You'd have to make sure. Did you get help from other people?
Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't tell too many people before I took off to film it, because I didn't necessarily want too many people's opinions on it. I was already feeling like, there's so many expectations there's so much expectation on us already from all of the fans. I was like, oh no, I just have to put my head down and just kind of trust that I'll figure it out as we go.
Nice. Well, you both kind of come from very, very impressive backgrounds. Is it difficult to step in a heavy sci-fi action movie, considering you're both, you've done a lot of very dramatic stuff, a lot of stuff all over the board?
I found it great. I loved that element of it. It's always been a dream of mine to be in this kind of film. I think so. No, I was just desperate to get onto a set like this. It was a dream come true for me.
Nice. What about you, Josh? Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jimmy. I mean, it's what it's like in this industry. When you do one thing, you tend to keep doing the same thing, not because you want to, but because that's what people think your limit is, right? Your limitation zone. So as an actor, you're always praying for the opportunity to do new things. And so when this came up, it really was just just a dream come true. Because oh yeah, finally, I've always wanted to do this, and no one's ever given me a chance. So this is great. And I basically came in there and I go, so whose ass do I get to kick? And they go, no, you basically get your ass kicked the whole time. I go, I don't care. That sounds great to me. I'm just happy to be on board.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially that character, both of these characters, they just seem there's so much there.
Yeah.
So much fun. And unfortunately, I just got the notice we got to wrap it up. But you guys are awesome in this movie. I know I miss you already.
Buddy. We'll meet again. I'm certain of it.
We will. Bye, guys. It was a real pleasure.
Bye, bud.
Bye, guys.